Then I went again.
Well, he said
spiritual dimension.
How precious and how
unimportant it was.
I became a family.
Everyone else was astonished.
An excerpt from the new Gem film, A Glimpse Through the Veil 2, Wondrous Stories of the Rebbe, available now.
מר בן ציון ריידר היה רואה חשבון מוסמך ומומחה בלונדון, אנגליה, קרוב ל-40 שנה.
we were once having dinner with some Lubavitcher Hasidim in London, and this gentleman was a regular donor to Lubavitch. At that time, I think one of their major donors. And he said to me that he gives his money out of his taxed income, and if he could possibly give it out of his business rather than out of his taxed income, he would be able to give more, and asked me as an accountant whether I could perhaps suggest some method, legal method, by which he could overcome that difficulty. And so I asked him a few questions about his business, and sometime later I suggested a method which I thought, taking advantage of a certain loophole in the tax law, that would work. And so he said to me, all right, next time I'm with the Rebbe, I will ask him, and if he says yes, that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, some time elapsed, and I met him again. He'd just been to the Rebbe, and he said, I spoke to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe told me your scheme is no good. So my ego was a little affected. I said, are you sure you explained it properly? And he said, yes. So I said, do you mind the next time I'm in New York and I have an opportunity of speaking to the Rebbe if I ask the Rebbe? He said, no, not at all. And if the Rebbe says yes to you, I will still do it. And so some months later, when we were again in New York in the winter, I was with the Rebbe. At the end of the Yechidus, the Rebbe said, is there anything else you want to discuss? And I said that Mr. So-and-so had asked me all the details which I've already mentioned, and I had suggested a scheme, but I understood that the Rebbe said that the scheme was not good. And the Rebbe smiled and he said, Chas v'sholom, I never said it wasn't good. He said, I just told him not to do it. So I said, well, seeing as he wants to give money, and if the scheme is good, why shouldn't he do it? And the Rebbe smiled even a little more broadly and said, you'll see. In England, in March, late March, the Chancellor of the Exchequer presents his budget to Parliament with the new tax laws for the next year and all the details of it. And they are highly secretive. They're not even fully discussed with the members of the Cabinet or the Prime Minister. And in fact, if there's a leak, the Chancellor of the Exchequer has to resign. In fact, some years earlier, Chancellor of the Exchequer, on his way to Parliament when he was prepared to give his budget, mentioned to one of the reporters who was smoking a cigarette that it's going to cost you more, and because he had put the tax up on tobacco, that Chancellor had to resign. The following March, that's 3 months after this incident with the Rebbe, the Chancellor presented his budget, closed the loophole that I had tried to exploit, and not only did that, but did so retrospectively, which was very rare. And had the man in Stamford Hill gone ahead with the scheme that I had suggested, not only would it have saved him money, it would have cost him money. So I can only assume either that the Rebbe had communications with the Chancellor of the Exchequer or he had other ways of divining what was going to happen.